Andrew, it's great to have you here on the show. Now, you happen to be at one of the first ever real estate industry summits, which recently ended over the weekend.
Correct.
For you, what was the significance of such a summit?
For me, myself, the best thing about that one-day summit was having all the leading experts in the room. The likes of Ilse French and the guys from Remax, and actually having them all there in one day and getting their opinion as to what's happening in the property market. Because I'm sure you'll know, right now there's a lot of uncertainty. What is happening to the property market in South Africa? And it was so refreshing to hear how optimistic these individuals were about the property market.
Now, in terms of the value, where does the value lie for not only investors but also buyers?
I think getting 1,000 people in that room on the day and listening to the experts as well as networking with the individuals on the ground, it was good to kind of hear the individuals' opinions as to where they feel estate agents are going wrong. What value are estate agents actually bringing to buyers and sellers? Because some people get their own opinion saying, well, why don't you just connect the buyer to the seller and cut the middleman out? Then there's the arguments about the good estate agents who are actually bringing value to the buyer and the seller. So it was just refreshing to get different people's opinions as to who thinks is right and wrong, and having those, call it, positive arguments in the room.
Now, you happen to be a real estate agent at one point.
Yes, I was.
Now, for you, where do you see the weakness in terms of the relationship that exists between realtor and buyer?
Okay, so when we talk about, I'll call them estate agents, right? When we talk about the estate agents, unfortunately, they've got a label of being bad in the industry, right? It's negative. And when I was practicing as an estate agent, I could see where that came from. It comes down from one word: expectations. Where a lot of estate agents go wrong, in my personal opinion, is when they get approached by a buyer or a seller, they sometimes overset the expectation. So for example, if the house is worth R1 million and the seller comes along and the seller wants to list it for 1.3 million and the estate agent knows it's worth R1 million, but the estate agent says, fine, we'll list it for 1.3, expectations are wrong because now the seller is expecting 1.3. The house is only worth R1 million. This is actually a massive problem in South Africa right now as we speak, not because I'm buying from estate agents. And the problem is, I then go put an offer in slightly below the market value, which is normal in this market, but now my offer almost 400 grand less than the asking price. But the reality is the property is only worth R1 million. So one of the biggest things is getting an expectation right. What is someone's house really worth? You see, my opinion, if that estate agent knows that the house is not worth more than R1 million, why list it for 1.3?
So how do you remedy such a situation?
So that comes down to education. That comes down to estate agents, in my opinion. I won't use the word greedy because that's the wrong word to use, but unfortunately, in my opinion here, the estate agency industry is a cutthroat industry. There are more and more estate agents coming through and therefore more competition, and they will do anything to get that sole mandate. Where I found the experienced agents, and I work with them in Edenvale, there's a few of them that I've met that if they cannot list the property at the right price, they walk away. They would rather not have the business and not let the seller down. It's unfortunately the estate agents that will do anything and everything to get that sole mandate, and they know that they'll list it for 1.3. They know what will happen. They won't get any buyers, and all they're going to do is drop that price back down to R1 million over a period of time, and therefore, unfortunately, misleading the seller.
Let's move away from that for a second.
Sure.
Let's talk about investment.
Okay.
What is the current trend in the property market?
The current trend for me, from an investment point of view, is we're seeing a lot of activity happening below 1.1 million rand. You see, when you look at the property market now in South Africa, as soon as you start dealing in your 3 millions, your 4 millions, property prices are sticking. In some cases, they're dropping. So where I'm seeing in our network where people are actually investing is below the 1.1 million mark. That's where properties are churning. That's where they're getting very good yields. So in my personal opinion, that's where the opportunity is below the 1.1. Because even when you look at the market right now as it is, and you go speak to all the bond originators, there's an uptake, not in investors as well, but first-time buyers buying in that market space.
Is it all about affordability, or it's about an alternative option?
I think it's about opportunity. When you look at that market below the 1.1 million, there's lenders out there that are lending just in that space. Affordability is a big one as well. If you think about the average family, the average couple, both working, earning 15,000 to 20,000 rand, around that range. Buying properties up to R1 million rand on two salaries is affordable. You start hitting the 2 million, 2.5, you start outpricing the average South African.
That's true. Now let's talk about your business. How are you aligning yourself with the needs of investors?
Sure. So I've got the business, the SA Property Investors Network, as you know, and it's a business created by investors for investors. And what we find is a lot of people are looking for alternatives because unfortunately there's lots of retrenchments, a lot of uncertainty in South Africa, but that creates opportunity. So what we're doing is we're putting on live events for our customers. We've got webinars, podcasts, educating them. How do you do property the right way? How do we get onto the ladder? What are some of the pitfalls? So we get these guys into a room, and we get the likes of your Absa Banks in the room, Finvast, Bruno Samau, all the leading experts into the room to educate them. If we are to invest into property, where should we invest? My objective is to get to as many South Africans. In fact, my goal is to get to 1 million South Africans who want to invest in property. Now, people are saying to me, that's way too big, 1 million people, but I'm going to reach it because now we started live streaming our events. We're in 6 cities, Durban, Pietermaritzburg, Cape Town, Joburg, Soweto, Centurion, and my mission with this is to get my education to as many South Africans as possible, because the more lives we can change in South Africa, the better for the country.
Hi, I'm John Walland and you're watching Joburg Today.